So, what is the difference between talk therapy and something like advanced conversational hypnosis? Because conversational hypnosis is a conversation between the ACH practitioner and the client. And how does that differ to something like psychotherapy when you're talking, right? It's based on talking. And so today I'm going to explain to you the difference between the two because the actual things that we talk about in psychotherapy and ACH are very, very different. And so the very first thing that is different between psychotherapy and ACH is that in psychotherapy, a lot of the focus is on the past, right? For example, a client comes in after a severe breakup, right? And so when you go into that session with a psychotherapist, of course, their focus has a lot to do with the past, and how the past, has affected them in how they cope with the breakup, which can be very, very helpful. I'm not dismounting or disregarding any types of therapy at all. But the main model of psychotherapy is also very technique based. So when you go into psychotherapy, depending on the therapist that you get, they have learned certain types of techniques such as cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy, interpersonal therapy, maybe some EMDR, and all of those things, right? They're very technique based. And really, those two are the main differences between that and ACH. So, for example, ACH, using the same client of going through a really bad breakup, in ACH, we don't talk about the past. We talk about the client's current experience as to how they are feeling right now with regards to the breakup. And sure, it could and probably highly likely that they may go back to previous experiences, maybe in their childhood, maybe not always, depending on the client. And maybe it has to do with a previous relationship previous to this. The main thing about ACH is we don't predict or assume that the client's childhood or the client's last relationship breakup was the cause of how they're feeling. With regards to this current breakup, it is really focused on, hi, client, what are you feeling right now? Why is this a big problem for you? Investigating how it is a problem for you and allowing the client's mind to make the links and associations as to why they feel this way. Because it is true that our past is the reason as to why we're here right now, right? We are here now because of the things that we did in the past, but it's very specific per person as to how the past affects the current situation, right? We were made to assume that it's based on our childhood stuff that made us um, have certain relationships that we have. And there is definitely some truth to that. I'm not disregarding that. That I have worked with clients who have had toxic relationships, and not all of them go back to some childhood trauma or childhood relationships. It had a lot to do with maybe the past 10 years, their relationship um, patterns within the last 10 years, and not really their childhood. I'm not saying that it's never like that, but the thing is, the main principle of ACH is to never assume what the root cause of a client's problem is, because that biases, as the ACH practitioner. If we assume that everything is due to whatever happened in childhood, that it biases our ability to really help with the clients. But there are some clients who will not associate that, right? It really just depends. You don't know 100% for sure until you talk to a client. And it may be an inner child thing, it might not be, right? And if we assume that it's inner child, and if it's not, then we miss out the actual thing that they need to work on. So ACH doesn't use techniques. As I mentioned earlier, psychotherapy is very much technique based and technique led. Um, and so ACH is very much principle led. There are principles as to why things like CBT exist. There are principles as to why DBT exists, or why solution based therapy exists, or why EMDR exists. It's really based on these principles. And in ACH, you learn the principles as to why these techniques exist. Because when you learn from principles, then you have unlimited techniques. If you have just learned 5 techniques, then you just learn the 5 techniques. You just know how to go with the 5 techniques. They might be great techniques. They might not work for all of your clients, right? By working on principles, but by knowing the principles as to how to actually create client breakthroughs that are fast and lasting, then you have unlimited ideas and ways as to how to help particular clients, because everyone is different. Not everyone will respond well to CBT or DBT. Not everyone will respond well to NLP practices, right? The techniques within NLP. Not everyone is going to want to relax and go down the stairs and walk down the beach during their hypnosis sessions. And so with ACH, we learn the principles, and we use principles to investigate the client's problem as they're feeling it right now, so that their mind tells us the different associations it has made with regards to the problem right now, so that it can find a solution. And it is very solution based. Now, there are some therapeutic modalities in the psychotherapy world that is solution based. There's solution based therapy techniques out there as well, but not all psychotherapists would use that, right? Whereas in ACH, it is very solution oriented, because we are using the subconscious mind, which is naturally the part of our minds who are very resourceful and very solution oriented. So when we access that part of our mind that has the unlimited ideas and solutions that are unique for that client, and if we allow and set the parameters for the unconscious to allow for the unconscious to find the best solutions for that person, then they are more likely to achieve the goals that they set out when your client, depending on what your client actually wants to achieve. So, for example, in ACH, using the example of, of that person who just is fresh from a breakup. So, say that client is wanting to stop attracting unhealthy men into their lives. And so with ACH, we take a look at what they're currently experiencing after their breakup. And with that, they see the patterns of the type of men that they've been attracting, how they feel about themselves to allow them to attract those types of men. And then because of that insight, and because as the ACH practitioner, we help that client to set the parameters in their subconscious to say, we no longer want to attract these douchebags. So find a way to ensure that you start valuing yourself more and no longer choose those types of men. And that's what happens to them internally. And because of that, that's when the fast and lasting changes happen, because now that client, because we've set the parameters for the subconscious to choose something different, then from after the session, they start to really they start seeing the red flags right away. It's hard for them to not see the red flag of douchebag men, because they've already seen it. They've looked at themselves in the mirror and they've seen the actual facts. And because of that, they are now rewiring and repatterning that old pattern, because they see the problem, they see the red flags of douchebag men, and then they are going to be more likely to choose a better option, choose to not go with the douchebag men and run from the douchebag men instead of going to them, because of that new insight based on their current experience. So hopefully that made sense. And those are the biggest difference between the two. And also the model, the actual therapeutic model of psychotherapy is very much 16 sessions, 20 sessions. If you've had this issue for a longer time, then this means that we have to see each other for 10 for not 10 years, but maybe a year, maybe 2 years, right? Which is really, for me, in my opinion, not the best model, because if you can help your clients faster than that, why not do it? ACH is all about speed, and it's speedy for many reasons. There are going to be many videos to prove as to how and why ACH is so fast, but the main ACH principle is to get things done, to have your unconscious mind to solve the problem right away, because we all know that the unconscious mind can just make instant amazing changes, right? And so the model of ACH is to get it done as fast as possible. If you can do it in one session, great. 2 sessions, great. 3 sessions, great. It doesn't matter, but it's up to the shortest amount of time that you can help your client with their mindset or therapeutic breakthroughs, because people are time poor. And if you can help someone faster, why can't you? Right? Why wouldn't you do that? And if you, as the client, wanting to have a problem solved, wouldn't you rather pick something that will help you within a span of 21 to 30 days instead of a year? That's just a no-brainer, right? So those are the main differences between the two principles. Psychotherapy is more technique-based, and it's also very much focused on the past, and the therapeutic model is more of a long-term follow-up type model, whereas ACH is very much principle based, and it is very much focused on how the client is perceiving their problem now, and investigating the problem directly as they are experiencing it now at the present moment. Um, and the model is, let's get it done as quickly as possible while still maintaining the integrity and the quality of the results to ensure that it is lasting. So I hope this helped. And if you have any questions, let me know and I will see you around.